Okay. Are you all ready? Yes. Any questions before we start?
What are we going to do?
That's bit of a suspense. Tutorial. Okay. So tutorial usually is I give a problem and you people have to solve it and then you submit it the scanned copy. Okay. So 1 hour we get and then you can scan it and upload. But since there is nothing is being done earlier, so I am going to solve a problem and have something done. I am doing it here, and you just have to write it down, and I will uh, allow you to do some steps in between, and so on. But usually this would be a problem solving session or doing some detailed calculations and so on. Of course, today's tutorial might come as a bit of a shock um, and a sudden jump in the difficulties of this course. But anyway, that is how it is going to be. So we are going to relook at the classical mechanics and derive Lagrangian equation of motion. Okay, it is not deriving equation of motion. It is getting the final general equation of motion as a second order differential equation. I hope you are all now brushed up your classical mechanics. So we really don't need any background here. All we need to know is about the Lagrange mechanics or Lagrange equation of motion and some bit of a mathematical trick, which is to be fairly straightforward, but it forms all the foundation of what we are going to do. I hope you also know generalize coordinates and so on. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do. Any other question? So I hope you are all ready with your pen and paper. You have to do this along with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here and continuously talk. It's like a online class, but there is no way to do it. I know it's slightly difficult to interact because you have to unmute, talk, and mute again. So technology is still not good enough to have this done very smoothly, but let's try it. Okay, don't hesitate to stop and ask question. If time is not sufficient, we would continue in the next tutorial. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are going to look at is a Lagrangian equation of motion, or you all know the Lagrangian L. Can you see it properly? I can use
Yes,
a little font. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Lagrangian is basically defined as T minus V. T is kinetic energy. And V is a potential energy. Now, we are going to assume that the potential energy is zero. So there is no potential. So it's okay. It is means that there is no force acting on the particle. It looks like that, but you know, the mechanics is based on generalized coordinates, so it is very difficult to say whether there is a force acting or not acting. It's fairly a involved at that stage. But what is to be seen is that we are essentially looking at the system with the free particle. Okay, free particle means this means no external force. Okay, so this is a system which we are involved. So our Lagrangian is only a kinetic energy. Okay, now is something a bit technical thing. So if you look at the Goldstein book, you look at the form, the very general form of kinetic energy. You can look in the Goldstein book. You may not remember this detail, but
Sorry, you're muted.
So you're okay. So did you say something? Hello? Hello, sir?
He is muted.
Okay.
okay. Sorry, my mic got disconnected for a while. I think it muted itself. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So some wire got pulled and mic got disconnected. So I, yeah. Okay.
Sir, are
So,
you sharing a screen, or is because sometimes the clarity gets reduced?
yeah, this is not really a screen share. It is something more complicated than screen share. Let me just quickly see the setting, what is going on. 1 second. If the clarity is not good, then we can switch to screen sharing. Let me just see what video resolution. Okay. HD. Video resolution. Okay, so this should solve a problem. Can you see the screen more clearly?
Yeah, right now it's visible clearly.
Okay, so if there is a problem, let me know, then we can switch to better resolution.
Okay.
Okay, so let's come back to this. So um, I want you to look it up, but I'm not giving any detail. The kinetic energy in a general form can be written as a term m naught, which doesn't depend on the generalized velocity at all. It depends only on the generalized coordinate. And then you have a term J summation. You're all familiar with the Einstein summation convention? Not convention. convention. Yes, whatever it is. So the second term is linearly depends on the generalized velocity, and the mj's could depend on the generalized position. And the third one, which is depends on the quadratic function of kinetic energy. No, what is that? Generalized velocity. So this is what we have. Again, mjk's are depends on the generalized coordinate. Now you may have to look it up. I don't think you will be remembering this just like offhand, but it is a good thing to remember. Okay, the next thing is about the summation, Einstein summation convention. Convection? No, convention. You all familiar with it? Was it introduced in some course? It is not that I want to spend much time on it. Yes?
Yes, sir. We have used it before.
Okay. So repeated index would be summed over if summation is not given, but there is a this thing here that the one index up and one index low have to be there for the summation convention. So if they are on the same footing, lower, lower, upper, upper, then it is not followed. So that's why you have here. So we make a further assumption. Okay, I am making further.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the second term there is no I, right? Like it's sum over I, but there is no I
okay.
in the term mjk qj
Yeah,
dot
easiest
q.
way to solve
Okay.
this is make it j. Okay.
Sir, you have been muted again.
Okay. So is it okay now? This thing get some. Okay. So this is a kinetic energy. So this is a very general form of kinetic energy. See, I am trying to make a definite point and connection with the general theory of relativity. So we really don't need most general form and a very specific form which I am interested in. So I'm here making an assumption that M zeros, these are matrices. If you, oh, this is not matrices, this is a scalar, of course. So this is 0 and MJs, they are vectors. So I am assuming them to be 0. So I'm not interested. You would see that this would come in a very strange way in general theory of relativity, but currently we can ignore them. If this kind of a term has to come, it would appear as a time component, but we ignore it at present. So we have left with the kinetic energy as a purely half kind of sigma jk m jk and qj and qk dot. Okay, so this is the kinetic energy as well as the Lagrangian for the case which we are interested. Okay, any questions so far?
Sir, why are we interested in this particular case?
Okay, that is we will have to see what depending on what I am going to do. So let us see, did I keep that as a suspension? I am all muddling up with the word suspense, not suspension. Okay, so I'm going to make one more assumption. See, generalized coordinate is a number of degrees of freedom. So if you have two,
Oh, sir, you have muted.
yourself again.
Okay. So this computer is a bit sensitive. Okay. So what did you miss? Let me repeat. So the generalized coordinate depend on the degree of freedom. That means, of course, in Newtonian mechanics, dimension of the space is 3. That's not going to change because it has, that's all you have in the real space. From mathematical interest, you could do it with any dimension, but in the real problem solving, it would be just 3 dimension. So if you have one particle, then you have a 3 degrees of freedom. If you have 2 particles, you have a 6 degree of freedom, and so on. Depending on the complex n-body problem, you have 3n degrees of freedom. That means your J would be going 3n. So in order to make this confusion clear, we use only simple particle, simple single particle. So in this case, your coordinate and generalized coordinate do not have any difference because generalized coordinate would be keep on changing depending on the degree of freedom, but we have one particle. So our x, qy's are simply xi, the spatial coordinate. I've just raised and lowered index. Don't worry about that. It is if you feel like writing this way qi, you can simply write it at like this. At this stage, it doesn't matter to have this. Now, you see that our q dot is x dot I. So it's your velocity or generalized velocity. Now I make another change here. Instead of mjk, okay, I call it as a gij. Yeah, this is a matrix. Now it is a 3 into 3 matrix. You can call it anything you want, but I call it a gij. So our Lagrangian becomes sum is also kinetic energy half sigma I j. It is a dummy index. This is a wrong way of writing. So let me correct it. It should be jk only. So indices, you have to be careful. You would soon get used to it. It is not something which you have to consciously aware of. It is better left to your subconscious mind to handle this so that it automatically happens. So we have replaced m by g, and then I am also replaced the indices j and k by I and j. These are dummy indices. You can call dummies anything. They won't get offended. So I call it them ij, and this is what my Lagrangian looks like. Now we follow Einstein summation convention.
Sir, I didn't saw the last slide, not the previous slide.
Yeah,
so
So the
It
last
was-
part of the slide was not visible.
Yeah,
okay.
you could have just scrolled down a little bit.
Yeah, so what you missed is missed. What can I do? Can you see them?
Sir, actually it is getting cut because the screen is just showing the upper part.
Okay.
The last equation is not visible.
Yeah, just a minute. So let me see, because I am focusing on my small little screen. It is just hold on a second. Let me first calibrate. So you can see, not properly see this lower part.
Yes.
Okay. So we will. I will make sure that I don't go that low. Now let us basically copy this here, and then remove this here. Okay, so we have it here. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I use the Einstein summation so that we don't want to write too much.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, M naught is a scalar and MJs are vectors and MJK is a matrix, right? So
Yes.
when you are assuming that MJ is equal to 0 for all J, so
Yeah.
doesn't it affect the matrix MJK in any way?
No, no. It is independent, right? Otherwise, if there is a connection and then it would be a problem. It is not related, right? MI and MJ are independent information which is needed. If they are somewhere connected, some components are going zero by setting MJK zero, let it be. So what we are interested in the system in which the Lagrangian or kinetic energy, it does not have a pure function of generalized coordinate and the linear function of generalized coordinate. We are interested only in the part of Lagrangian which is quadratic in nature in the generalized coordinate. So this these two terms are not connected. So you can set it depends on the transformation, right? You are transforming from your xij coordinate to generalized coordinate, and how complex that is actually determines the all these terms. So I am sticking to only specific type of transformation which is given which gives this. So you will see that it is not a limitation. We will talk more about this, but currently I don't want to go much too deep into the generalized coordinate that would be a diversion. So you can look it up in the Goldstein and see that they are not really dependent on each other. And all this relation depends on the relation or the transformation from usual your xy coordinate to generalized coordinate. If that coordinate have a specific nature, and that would be reflected in your kinetic energy, and that is what we have. See, for example, you have a polar coordinate. When you transform kinetic energy from Cartesian to polar, they all depends purely on the quadratic function of the kinetic energy. Not kinetic energy, generalized coordinate. Now, if you want to want another example where it would depends on the linearly on the kinetic energy, you could do it to the rotating frame. When you go to rotating frame, you would see that your kinetic energy will pick up some crazy terms, which we call is a Coriolis term. So that would depends linearly on the velocity. Okay, and then there will be centrifugal potential like term which is coming, which doesn't depend on the velocity at all. So those kind of terms would come. There are other ways to handle that in GR. So we really don't have to worry about them at this stage. I'm trying to draw attention to some specific aspects of Lagrangian equation of motion so that you would understand immediately what are the geometric aspects of the Lagrangian which we are interested. Okay. Okay. So I use a Einstein summation convention. So we have this as our Lagrangian now. Okay. Now that is done. We have to apply. This is our Lagrangian, and all we need to do now is to apply Lagrange equation of motion. So Lagrange equation of motion is a fairly straightforward, but before that, let me draw one point here. G ij's will depend on the x case. So it position dependent, but it doesn't depend on the velocity. So that is a point which we need to remind. And the second point which we need to understand here is that so Gij is a symmetric matrix. That is, you can interchange the indices, or you can simply write down as a Gij is equal to half times Gij plus Gji. So by interchanging rows and columns of this matrix, nothing changes. So that comes from the fact that this, okay, so this xi product xi xj, which is called the outer product of the velocity, is symmetric. So even if Gij is not symmetric, only symmetric part would contribute. But you would see that this metric Gij would be symmetric, so we don't have issue, or rather we would be considering only a system in which Gij is symmetric. So with this understanding, let's go ahead. We have a Lagrangian explicitly written down. It is a form of a Lagrangian which we are interested in.
Sir,
Yes.
could you, I didn't understand the last statement. Could you explain what x dot I and x dot j being symmetric means?
No, let us look at what is x dot I. X dot I is the generalized velocity, right? So velocity, you can write it as a vector. You can write it as x1, x2, x3, 3 coordinates only. Okay, you could have a general thing, but let's stick to the real space. Now, what is xi xj? It is basically in the vector notation. If you write it, it would be product of this quantity. Oh, I am so used to writing I and j. Okay, so this product, when you write it, what are we actually doing? We are multiplying the row and column, and that what you have is a square matrix which is a product of this vector, velocity vector, and that is going to be a symmetric matrix because you can put in all the numbers. First one would be x1, 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 x2, x1, x3, and so on. And when you come here, then you have x2, x1. You can flip it. It's just a set of real numbers, so there is no problem to flip them. X2, x3, x2, x3. Okay, dot. Okay, I forgot this dot, but you can mass produce dots. They are not a big issue. Okay, so you see that it is a symmetric matrix. Now, if Gij is not symmetric, it doesn't matter because all the anti-symmetric portion will be completely cancels out because of opposite sign. They don't contribute anything. But that's not what I'm going to talk. I'm going to explicitly impose the condition that the Gijs are a symmetric matrix themselves, and this product essentially would not be changing if you change I to j and j to I, not in that sense. But if I change only indices of ij and ji, you flip these here, nothing is going to change, or you flip here only, nothing is going to change. So that means both these quantities matrix are symmetric. Is that clear?
So, if you considering x upper index I dot
Yeah.
as a column vector, then why would you consider x upper index j dot as
Yeah.
a row vector? It's only when Gij would act on it that it would become like a row vector, right? Beforehand, we can't assume. I mean, why would
No,
xj
it is-
dot be a row vector
No,
if
it is-
I dot is a column vector?
Yeah, no, it is not that simple. See, what happens is you are correct that writing this as this is wrong. But you look at it, what happens? I write x dot I, x dot j, and then you would see that I simply put in the number. Okay, I just simply don't care anything. I just say that my I I goes from 1, 2, and 3, and j goes from 1, 2, and 3. So I need to, this matrix is basically given by all the combination without bothering upper, lower, and so on. So this whole thing is wrong. So I have a x dot 1, x dot 1, okay, x dot 1, x dot 2, and so on. So I can fill it up just by substituting number. Now coming back to your question about upper and lower, you see that something very fancy happens here. Now you have your Lagrangian as a Gij is equal to x dot I and x dot j. So these guys are already somehow understanding of upper and lower among themselves. Now since it is summed over and you are contracting, this is called the contraction, sum over, that's a fancy name for the summing up. So you see that if you try to do anything upper and lower, if you reduce this guy has to go up. And if you try to reduce this guy has to go up. So they are coming in combination. So if you use one or other, here it doesn't really matter. So this is to say that this is a scalar. The scalars are very nice guys. So they are not easily offended by coordinate transformation. So you can freely take them to the any coordinate system. So of course, that upper and lower business, we will come back a little later. So here you can essentially take this quantity as a symmetric matrix, and this also can be assumed to be symmetric matrix. Okay?
So technically, Gij would be a tensor, right?
Yeah, we call it a matrix now.
Okay.
Sir?
Yeah, there is the one-to-one transformation between all matrix and tensor of second rank. So that is what would clarify your problem. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, the expression for kinetic energy, was it derived from Taylor's series or something?
No, not Taylor. There is no approximation involved whatsoever. So what happens here, you see that, you should look at the Goldstein. It is a subject by itself to clarify it very quickly. But what happens, let us say that suppose you have a transformation from your x to q, okay? And then you see that if the time explicit terms of your transformation, then you would have all this problem. Yes?
Sir, we can see you also on the screen. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now.
Okay. So what happens is that in this transformation, when you write q to x, now if you see that if this transformation explicitly depends on time, for example, in case of some velocity, okay, uniform velocity, then you have x going to v naught t plus what? 0. Okay, that would be 0, or you can v1 into v naught, you can say. Then you see that when you differentiate this, then you would have a term which is simply v1, which is constant. Okay,
Sir, you're going
so
below
that kind of a term
below the screen.
Below the Lakshman Rekha. Okay, so I have to find some way to do it. So it's just a magic of the transformation to generalized coordinate. If it explicitly depend on time, then you would have all this transformation. And you carefully think it in terms of the physics, explicitly depends on the time also means that some kind of a non-inertial transformation. So that is what which is creating in the problem. But usually genuine coordinate system, most of the time you would see that it would cleanly depends on the on this problem. So when you let us take a, I'm not going to do this in detail, just quickly tell you this. So suppose you do the polar coordinate system to polar coordinate system. Now you have r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta and so on. Your kinetic energy originally would be x dot plus y dot square plus z dot square. Now in the polar coordinate, you would have your the half and m we can forget, half r dot square plus r square theta dot square plus, let's stick to 2 dimension. Now this is the transformation which you have done and so on. So it is all right because this is a quadratic, this is a quadratic and no problem. Now in the polar coordinate itself, let's do a coordinate transformation, theta going to some theta prime plus omega t. Now you see that it is a uniform rotation. Now you see that your theta dot would be theta dot prime plus omega, or you could, if you want to substitute, then it would be something theta prime dot would be theta dot minus omega, whatever you want to do. But you see that your eventually your kinetic energy would have a term r dot square plus r square new theta dot, the theta dot, if you substitute, it would have a theta prime plus omega and square, right? In this transformation, you see that r dot square, leave off other term. Now I want your attention to be drawn at a term which is 2 omega theta dot prime r square, okay, and there is another term 2 r square omega square. Now you see what happened. You have a second order in the generalized velocity, second order in generalized velocity, first order in the generalized velocity. There is a scalar. It is this we are not interested in. We are interested in the coordinate system which allows only this. Okay, so we are interested in the coordinate system in which after transformation you will have only this kind of a term, not this kind of a term. Now it is not an issue when we come to full relativity. We will handle everything within the same framework. We have a mechanism to bring in these terms by including the time. Currently, time is not part of our dynamics, so it is just remain there as a global time, and it doesn't play any active role other than the just keeping time. Okay, its job is just to keep time, not to get involved with the whole lot of dynamics. Okay, so is it clear?
Sir, actually, can you repeat why we are interested in only the first two terms? I don't understand.
Yeah, that would come later. It is not possible to explain because you see that in the basic idea here is that eventually we are going to connect this part to the metric tensor, and the metric tensor eventually will have only quadratic in the displacement. So the other terms simply don't come. The term like this would come as a time coefficient because when you have a time coordinate, this will be absorbed. This would be again quadratic in, this would come as a theta dot t dot term, and the last term would come as a t dot square term. Since we are not taking the time, so we are taking only this, we are ignoring. It is only the problem in the Newtonian relativity, Newtonian mechanics. When we go to relativity, this is general enough. There is nothing beyond this. Unless your metric itself very dependent on the time, that also is not an issue which can be handled by including time as an independent degree of freedom. So let's go ahead. So there are some things because I have not clearly told why it is happening, because I'm going to draw your attention mostly to the physics which you already know and the physics which you are going to learn. And this is going to be there is no straightforward way to do, because there will be some gaps. So we will be coming to this problem and again sometime next couple of weeks before we completely go into the Riemann geometry where everything can be smoothly done. Currently, I want to draw your attention that the kinetic energy term like this, which has a quadratic in time, is going to behave like a metric in the Riemann space. But I'm not going to do it in a straightforward way. We are going to derive the equation of motion and see what we are going to get, and then probably you can see not before that. Okay.
So the resolution keeps fluctuating, like sometimes it gets real bad.
What? No, I didn't get it clearly what you said.
The resolution of your screen, it keeps on fluctuating. Like sometimes it's good, but other times it gets really bad.
Yeah, that may be because of the internet connection. So let us do one thing. Let us take a few minutes break, because this whole thing is better finished today. Otherwise, it's let's see how much we can do. So let me stop here for 10 minutes or so. We'll start at 12. So I'm not trying to keep you engaged for 2 hours each week, but first weeks there is no way to do it, because this is not really a problem. It is a derivation which I am doing, but I want all of you to do this and submit, because I want to ensure that you have done this before you get entered into tensor and Riemann geometry. Okay, let me take a break. I do some adjustment for my network connection, and then
So with screen share,
okay.
mostly resolution is not affected. Like when it's screen share.
You think so? But this is a video
all other
transmission.
we've seen this. Like even if your camera quality is low, the screen share, even with basic internet speed, screen share has very good resolution.
Okay, then I can switch it to screen sharing. Let us see. Okay, so where is? Okay, then let me just stop this this thing and let me do the screen sharing. Is this better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I have put the option as a high resolution screen transmission, so that also might cause an issue. But anyway, if this is reasonably good, we can stick to this.
Yeah, like screen share mostly has very consistent resolution. Like it doesn't drop randomly.
Okay. So, okay, we will stick to this. Let us take a few minutes break. We'll join back in 5 minutes. You can chit chat around or take a tea break in between. Uh, 5 minutes. Okay. 55 or 56, we will join. 11:56. Okay. So, any questions? Yes. Can you hear and see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One of the problem here is that when I do this screen sharing, I do not see the thing in the this thing at all. So I don't know what is seen and what is not seen. But that's okay.
So whatever is visible on your screen,
Huh?
whatever is visible on your screen is visible to us. Your entire screen.
Okay. Oh, entire screen, is it, or only one? Okay, whatever. You can see it now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let us go ahead. If there are questions you can ask, let me write down the basic equation. Okay. So this is our Lagrangian, and Lagrange equation of motion is given as d by dt of dl by dx dot I minus dl by dxi is equal to 0. Let me remind you again, you are all supposed to write this on a paper, scan it and submit. So today I will give some time because otherwise usually we do 1 hour tutorial and give you maybe after that you have 1 more hour to do all this routine business. But today it's being taking some time. Probably I will give you time till the evening to scan this and upload. That time is set in the VLearn, but I will do reset it. Okay, so this is a Lagrange equation of motion. So let's pay attention to this part first. So this is called the generalized momenta. So generalized moment is given by pi into dl by dxi dot is a generalized moment. So you know that if the specific generalized coordinate is absent in the Lagrangian, generalized momenta is conserved. That is what we call Noether's theorem or momentum of momentum conservation. So we are not worried about that at this stage. Let's go and write down generalized moment. So we got to write it a little more carefully because we are having this problem of indices. If the indices are not going to do it properly, then we will end up in the mess. So pi, P is a generalized momentum, I is a index for the components, ith component is given by this. So we got to use dxi, and then we substitute our Lagrangian, which is half g j k x dot j and x dot k. So see, this is a dummy indices. I cannot use I because there is a pre-index here which cannot be used in the dummy index. Then you will end up in all confusion. So the free indices have to be separate from this. So, and this is summation is again here. Dot is a derivative. So dummy indices, you can rename them as you wish. Now let us expand this. Let's take derivative. So before that, we need one small result, which you probably know. It's nothing great about it, but I make a big fuss about it because it's nice to make fuss about simple things. So this quantity, what is this? Can someone tell?
Delta Ij.
Delta I.
Kronecker delta.
Yeah, Kronecker delta, delta Ij, because it's velocity. You are differentiating with it itself, and it is Kronecker delta equal to 1 if j equal to I equal to 0, if j is not equal to I. Okay, so this is what you have. And then other thing which you know is that gjk dot dx I dot, this is 0. Because from the structure of kinetic energy, we have assumed that your coefficients do not depend on the generalized velocity. That is a basic thing we started with. Now we use a chain rule, differentiate it properly, and then we see that the pi can be written as half gjk into delta ji x dot k plus, it's a simple chain rule, there is nothing here, delta ik. Now you see that the basic rule about the delta ij is that the sum, any summation would simply go away. I delta ik, that is also equal to ai in the Einstein notation. We have ak. So this is a property of delta ij. So we could have lower indices and upper indices too. So we can have a delta ji, this is equal to bi delta I j, that is equal to bj. So this is a identity which we use, and then we apply this for our problem. We have a delta function. We end up with the expression. This comes out to be, oh, can you see it now? Okay. Pi is equal to half. So you have this delta function going away. So it is g I k x dot k plus, now the other one goes away. So you have a g j I x dot j. Okay, so this is the expression which we are getting. So now you see that there are dummy indices, both j and k are dummy indices. We can use them same. We can use a new dummy variable. So I rewrite this simply for you to get used to this kind of algebra, because GR is all about these dummy indices and renaming them appropriately whenever you want to, and using them to your advantage. You see that it is the same. Now I have renamed the dummy indices, these two terms are same, and then generalized momentum, which is given by this expression. See, the velocity when you lower with the metric coefficient, you get the generalized momentum. Or this expression from the Lagrange mechanics, you get the generalized moment. Is it okay so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's go ahead. We need a Lagrange equation. We need to differentiate this. So dl by d by dt of L by x dot I is equal to d by dt of GIL x dot L. Of course, you see that this is a complete derivative. So we can write it as a d by dt of GIL x dot L plus dx, what should I call, K GIL dxk by dt. Both are multiplied this with x dot L plus GIL x double dot L. I'm just using a chain rule and property of exact differentiation. Okay. Now we have assumed that the Lagrangian is not dependent on explicitly on time. So we may assume this to be 0. Because this is a special case when Lagrangian doesn't depend on the time, then we know that the kinetic energy, it becomes total energy is conserved. The total energy is potential energy and sum of potential and kinetic energy. Now kinetic energy we have already assumed potential energy we have already assumed 0. We have only kinetic energy. So in fact Lagrangian itself is conserved in this case, and that is what is the effect of Lagrangian doesn't depend on the time explicitly. That means the L is conserved. It's actually L is also equal to E, which is also equal to kinetic energy. So we can always normalize. It is not important at this stage, but since it is conserved, we could always call that constant to be 1, or rearrange your parameters such that your constant, which is equal to 1, or 0 even if you wish to. But that has a different meaning. We will come back to that when we do special theory of relativity. Okay, let's go ahead with our Lagrangian equation of motion. So what we have is dp by dt is given by first differentiation with respect to space xk, and then we have x dot j, x dot k. Then you have a double derivative gij plus x double dot j. Okay, is it clear? Yes, any questions so far? We have handled one term in Lagrange equation.
It is fine, sir.
Okay, I thought you were all sleeping. I am myself feeling very sleepy. Okay, so let's Yes.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, in the first term, means there was dxk dt, but how it turns into x dot j?
This one.
Yes, sir.
That is see dxk by dt. It is a notation, right?
Yes.
So it is a generalized velocity is a differentiation of coordinate with respect to time.
Yes, sir. But how it turned into x dot j, I think, sir. In the next slide, you.
Dummy guys, is it? Are you questioning this dummy guy's nature? See, J.
Oh, no, no,
J.
sir.
K,
Yes, sir. Fine, sir. Fine, sir. Yes, sir.
rename. This kind of a trick is very favorite among the general relativists. Their only form of exercise is by raising and lowering indices, not with the stretching and pulling space-time.
Means you are changing the L into J, sir.
Yeah. Those you see that one of them I changed because that you keep doing because there is an L here, there is an L. The J is a more closer to I than L. So no, I changed into which one? L into J. Okay.
And sir, why that thing vanishes the first term?
No, that is an assumption, right? We have made an assumption that the Lagrangian itself doesn't explicitly depend on time. Okay, that is a conservation law. It doesn't really requires, but if we do have that, then you actually have to take the whole space-time into account. So since we are, I'm trying to do an ad hoc calculation in which only space matters. So time, I am generally ignoring explicit dependence, and then you are assuming it to be a parameter for differentiation only. Okay. So the advantage of that is that your energy is conserved, and then your Lagrangian itself is conserved because there is no potential energy. So the total energy is a kinetic energy, and that itself is a Lagrangian, and you can set that to 1 if you wish to. It doesn't really require, but in GR it is often done because of that. We will come back when we come to Riemann geometry or differential geometry, when it is easier to do the calculation if you normalize the whole Lagrangian. Now there it is not an issue because time comes as their metric can depend on the time, because time is also a coordinate. Here time is not a coordinate. That is what leading to all these problems. If time was also a coordinate here, then everything would have been fallen neat, and we didn't have to use this explicit expression that Lagrange doesn't depend on the time. You could have a time-dependent Lagrangian too, that can be easily incorporated in GR, but the parameter of your curve, or which you make a velocity differentiation, Lagrangian shouldn't depend on that. So this might sound a little crazy now, but let's not worry too much. Let's get to our goal. What we want to do, we want to compute the next term. The next term is basically one which requires you to take the second term of Lagrange equation, KL x dot K x dot L. So this is what being done. So this is a rather simple. So it just take this form. And then we don't have to differentiate with respect to x dot, because that is one of the assumption in the Lagrangian formalism, that generalized coordinate and generalized velocities are independent of each other. So once you have that, we can put it all together now and then write the final form of Euler-Lagrange differential equation. So this comes out to be, the first part is coming from the rate of change of momentum that had two terms left there, and that is we have Gij dx k x dot j x dot k, and the second term is coming from the differentiation of Lagrangian itself with the generalized coordinate, and then you see that this is what we get, xi x dot k x dot j, and this should be equal to 0. Okay, so far so good. It is just an algebra. There are two terms. Now I want to impress upon another interesting stuff here. You see that earlier we have had a discussion that this is a symmetric tensor. Okay, or symmetric matrix, if you wish. Tensor is intimidating, so we can call it a symmetric matrix. We have, you can change, interchange j and I, j and k. It does not matter because it is coming from the same vector. If they are different vector, then you couldn't do it because it is the same vector. So then this also, this term between j and k have to be symmetric. The non-symmetric term is not going to contribute anything because contraction, the summation of a dot product between the symmetric and anti-symmetric is going to give you 0. Symmetric, I symmetrize this term also. So I introduce a half Gij, first one is like this, xk, and then x dot j, x dot k. Now I have to add the other part, Gik into dxj. I have symmetrized this because anti-symmetric part is not going to contribute anything. The last term is going to be gjk by dxi, and then do I have some space there? No. Then let me write here x dot k, x dot j. Is it clear, this step, how it is happening?
Can you repeat again?
Now I have a term here. Okay, this term is symmetric. Now you see that this term, okay, this term, the anti-symmetric part of this term is not going to contribute because this term on the xk dot and xj dot, because of their symmetric, and you are contracting or summing over, taking the dot product. The dot product between the symmetric tensor and the anti-symmetric tensor should be 0 because you are repeating the upper half with the negative sign with the lower half of the matrices, and that's going to cancel out. So there is no point in considering the anti-symmetric part of what is given here. So we might as well symmetrize this between the index j and k because of this term. So this is purely symmetric. So that's what I'm going to do, symmetrizing matrix ij k. Ik, it essentially means that you write a ik plus a ki. So that is what you mean by symmetrizing the matrix. So here you have an index j and k over which you want to symmetrize, and that is what you do. So let me rewrite that. The first term, is Gij, that's not going to do anything. Okay, and then The second term is the first part of this symmetric term, that is okay, let me call this J for that matter. Okay. So then we have I remains same because we are not going to touch it. It's a free index. The two dummy indices which we are symmetrizing. So I retain the first term as JK, and this is anyway symmetric between the J and K. We don't have any issue. So this you have to keep in your mind that the same vector coming and the product is done like this, then it is always going to be symmetric. So you don't have to worry them. And the second term of the symmetrization is you interchange K and J and K. So first term is a free index, not going to change. And because I'm symmetrizing between J and K, I replace J by K, and then I replace K by J. Okay, and then this fellow is symmetric. It doesn't matter you replace them with what. Now the last term, which I am not going to do anything. So it has a JK and one free index I, and then you have not D, X dot J and X dot K. Okay, is it clear now?
Sir?
Yeah.
X dot K, X dot. So you're doing this symmetrization thing because this del Gij by del Xk. So this thing is not symmetric. I mean this matrix.
Yeah, it is not symmetric because obviously it is not symmetric. You cannot expect a derivative of a vector with respect to another vector unless there are some specific coordinates, some special case, it might be symmetric. But in general, it is not symmetric, but we don't have to worry about the anti-symmetric part because it's not going to contribute. So we might as well symmetrize that. That's
yes, sir. Sir, earlier in the lecture, did you say that this Gij matrix is symmetric?
Gij is symmetric, but I am, you see the term which I am symmetrizing is with respect to index J and K. Okay. See, if I am talking about the index I and J, then there is nothing to symmetrize because Ij is already symmetric. But I am symmetrizing with respect to this and this. Okay, anyway, let me complete. There might be other people who might get confused. So it is not symmetric with respect to this, but I am forcing it to be symmetric by symmetrizing this, by putting the term, adding it with this Jik and Jx. Now this total term is a symmetric, but I have to add an half here to compensate. And because we are summing over, it would give the same result because we are doing this. It is taken dot with the symmetric matrix. So we are good with it. Okay.
So if we had considered it respect to I and J, then it would have been symmetric, right?
Yeah, but we cannot.
To I and J.
Yeah, but term is not with respect to that, right? Because
yes, because we are considering K, that's why it's not symmetric.
Yeah. If we are taken I and J, there is no need to worry because it's already symmetric. That is the assumption which we started with. The matrix Gij is a symmetric with respect to J, I and J. That is actually coming from the derivation of kinetic energy. It's not really an assumption, but assumption which we did was we don't have a first derivative term and the scalar term in the kinetic energy. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, in the last term minus del G Jk del Xi, that will be X dot K into X dot J, no?
Did I make a mistake? Let us see. Jk I is at the bottom, jk. No, this term is correct. See, in this case, I don't have to symmetrize. It's already symmetric. So there is no need to further work for this. Only this term we need to work. So I am not sure what is your question. You found you got confused with something?
In the upper step you have written x dot k into x dot j, and below you have written x dot.
Yeah, those are symmetric. You can
okay. We can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And second thing, it doesn't depend. So let me write one more thing, little bit more clearly. So if you have a vector AI, okay, let's call it AI. Now AI and AK, okay, for that matter, is the same as AK AI, okay. So yeah, that is a symmetry which we are talking about. So this x dot is you can write them. Multiplication is a commutative, so there is no real issue. Because of the dot and all added, sometimes it looks like something else, but it is as simple as this. Okay, let us continue, and then what we left with. Let us get this equation here. I'm lazy to write it again. Okay. So let me. Technology is good, but not good enough. So, okay, we have this. Let's rewrite this in a slightly simpler form, gathering all the terms. So let me write it as ij x dot j plus half is common. The first term is derivative of jij with respect to k. The second term is a derivative of ik with respect to xj. There is a negative sign. Half has been already taken out. And jk xi. And then you have x dot j, x dot k equal to 0. Okay. So this is a final form of our Lagrange equation. So this is the Lagrange equation of motion. It's a second order differential equation, which you would eventually get if you write down for a general system with no potential energy. Kinetic energy depends on the quadratic form of generalized velocity. So this is what we are looking for. What is this? Can you make any sense out of this? Why we had gone through all this long exercise to get this ugly equation? Anyone? Okay. If that's not clear, as it is expected, let's do something interesting.
There is a permutation of del G del X ij and k.
What?
There is a permutation in the index ij and k.
Yeah. It's a permutation. Let me. No, I just asked to ask a question, but I did not expect anyone to answer. Let me to the next step. Gij is a symmetric matrix. So let us say that the Gij upper index is the inverse matrix of Gij. Okay. That means that the product of Gij, Gjl is equal to delta IL delta L is an identity matrix. So is it okay what I'm doing? It's a simple idea that we call it the upper index GI is the inverse matrix of the lower index IJs, and then the rule of the matrix product is essentially tells you that you have to do this, and that is an identity matrix delta IJ. Okay, then let's do this business. Let's multiply by a inverse Gij to the Lagrange equation of motion. It should not be changing anything because it is overall, it is equated to 0. So I'm going to multiply by GLI to the whole thing. So I have a Gij x double dot j, then there is a plus half GLI and Gij and Gxk plus derivative with respect to Ik and then Gxj plus this is minus Gjk times Gxi, and this would be x dot j x dot k equal to 0. So this is our new equation, and then you see that we get a delta L j plus x dot j, that is a condition on which we had, and then we have the this term. I'm a bit lazy, sorry for doing this business. In the board also you could have done by rubbing it and simply writing it, but same thing I am doing here. This is equal to 0. So I have not done anything interesting except that this again I can rewrite x double dot L is equal to some gamma L j k x dot j x dot k equal to 0, where this whole animal gamma j k is given by this specific expression. I'm not going to rewrite this. We have already done it several times. So this is what, but you should be writing it. So there is something extra which you can rub it off. Okay, so Lagrangian equation by some hook or crook eventually reduces to an interesting form of this. So this is what we call is a second order differential equation, Newton's laws of motion or Lagrange equation of motion, where gamma Ljk is given by this derivative of the metric coefficients. Now, in the differential geometry, you are come across this geodesic equation. Anybody is familiar with the geodesic equation?
Sir, it is the shortest path between 2 points in a manifold.
Yes. So we will later see that this is exactly is a geodesic equation. Now, Lagrangian is obtained by the variation or the minimizing the kinetic energy, which gives the shortest or the least energy path between the 2 points, and that gives you a geodesic motion. Now, if you identify kinetic energy term as a metric coefficient, then it comes out to be minimizing the distance between the 2 points, and you would get the geodesic motion. So this is a close connection between the Lagrangian mechanics and the differential geometry, where later when we come into Riemann geometry, you would see that we will explicitly do the geodesic equation and its meaning. But in fact, you already know the Lagrangian equation of motion itself is a geodesic equation. Point which I want to impress, though you do not know what is a geodesic equation, it has to be now clear that this second order differential equation is of considerable importance in whole of physics, and that is what it plays an important role. Okay, there was some message, something. Was there a question in the chat box? No. Okay, so this is all about it which I wanted to do. It might be looks a bit tedious and hard to do at this stage, but there are several tricks which I have showed along, how to manipulate indices, how to take a differentiation and so on. But this is cut off from the main teaching because this is a tutorial. Here you are supposed to work this out and so on. So I take a hard enough and confusing problem on the day first, so that it would give you some idea what really you are getting into in this course. So this would come sometime later when we do differential geometry. We will show what is a geodesic equation, and then you would be easily able to make a connection with your Lagrange mechanics, and then most of the physics idea which you have learned can be immediately applied to the Riemann geometry, where you have a geodesic equation, conservation laws, this, that, whatever classical mechanics you have learned from Lagrange equation of motion would be applicable to the Riemann geometry with identifying your kinetic energy as a metric. Okay. Okay, any questions regarding the what is done?
Sir, how are we going to use this equation? And I'm still not clear on the assumptions that we have made, like getting zero potential energy and using only the quadratic part.
Yeah, so that we would come back to GR. So few things you should know that in GR we don't have external force. Okay, so there is no question of potential coming anywhere. It's not possible to have a potential, so only kinetic energy exists. You understand the idea of GR itself being the potential is integrated into the space-time itself, and there is no external force or potential. Idea of potential comes from the idea of force. If there is no force in the whole system, there is not going to be any potential. So we will come back to that in the normal class, the idea of equivalence principle and removing the idea of force and integrating it into the geometry. So because you are integrated entire the dynamics into the geometry, you are not going to have any external force, and that no external potential will be there in your Lagrangian.
Okay.
So that's the beauty of the GR, that the entire dynamics is represented by the kinetic energy alone. If it can be done, then it can be integrated with the space-time. If it cannot be done, it cannot be integrated with the space-time. So those who are interested in the quantizing gravity should know that the potential which you are incorporating is one of the problem, because it cannot be, if it cannot be smoothly integrated into the geometry, then the potential term cannot be handled in the GR. And second problem is, of course, is the acceleration. Your theory has to be general covariant. It should not depend on the acceleration and so on. So that we will come back to that in the equivalence principle, what it all means and so on. So some portion I have done it today, but it is done in a completely different context. So that need to be done by looking at the rotating frame and things like that. We will do it that in the detail. That's a part of physics. It is not really is the tutorial subject. It would come in the main set of lectures. You see that tutorial is a brute force calculation. Sometime physics may be ignored, but the calculations play an important role. So you have to get used to doing these indices, renaming dummies, and summation convention, manipulating the symmetrizing, anti-symmetrizing, all these things which plays an important role in the actual calculations. Any other question? Now you see that this is another mode of lecture in which I can write down on the tab and record the video too, or give a class lecture. But one thing important you have to notice here is that here in this case it would be one-to-one correspondence with the time in the video or lecture to the 1 hour lecture. If I am doing the presentation as I have done in the some of the videos, that roughly corresponding to the half time to the one full lecture. Now advantage there is that you can if you are not clear something, you can pause, you go back, go forward and re-listen and so on. In this case, when it is a one-to-one corresponding, writing's time is much slower. It would easy to grasp, but you will not be able to go back forth, because it is all would be very time consuming if it is done. Video is going to be much larger and so on. So sometime later I will again ask you whether you want this kind of a thing done or whether presentation kind of videos would do. So that is something which you have to think. Both of them have some advantage and disadvantage. Okay, any questions?
Sir, in the circular coordinate part where you transform the theta equals to theta dash plus omega t, I missed that part. And did you basically say that the Lagrangian would have to invariant under such kind of transformations? We will
No,
only
no,
deal with such.
Lagrangian is a scalar. It would remain invariant under transformation. So that is not an issue. What I am telling is that the form of Lagrangian would not remain as a quadratic in the kinetic energy. So if that is a constraint, then the rotating frame is not a very convenient way of doing. But in when you consider time also as your coordinate, then it gets smoothly absorbed into that. That we will do in the special theory of relativity. But you see that if the time is a free parameter, like in the Newtonian case, it's a global thing, it's not a coordinate. So when anything depends on time, you would have a first derivative and the scalar term added to the kinetic energy. So if you don't want time explicitly come, then it would be all right to have a quadratic Lagrangian to have. So this is a trade you have to do, but in GR it's not an issue. Even in special theory of relativity, it's not an issue because time itself is a coordinate. But in Newtonian mechanics, it's an issue because time is a free parameter, or time is not a coordinate itself. It's just a parameter. So that leads to the problem. If you also include t dot here, then everything would be quadratic in that. So that we will see when we get to special theory of relativity. Okay, any other question? Okay, I want you to, whatever you have written now is going to be your assignment or the tutorial form that need to be uploaded. You have to scan. I will extend the time to evening 6 o'clock by the time, or maybe 9 o'clock. Okay, 9 o'clock. By the time you upload, because it took full 2 hours almost, I cannot be so harsh on you to do it in next 10 minutes to finish this scanning and uploading. So I give the time to today till what, 9 o'clock. So you scan your notes, it will be evaluated, or rather it would be seen by TAs, and then you would be graded. That would have 10 marks, but eventually it would be, all would be normalized to 20% contribution to your final thing. So so today is 14. You would have a deadline till 8 o'clock, 28, and due date is also 20. So do upload this, whatever you are. I'm asking one of the TAs to go through this, and I will see how you guys are doing it.
Sir, we don't have to do anything extra, right? Whatever we did in this lecture, that it's
Yeah, no, not for this, because there is no problem. It's a derivation of considerable importance. So you may not understood, but I want to provoke your thought in looking into details. If you understand this whole thing, it is going to be a good progress in understanding GR. So, but usually this is not going to happen in the tutorial because there is nothing is done so far. It would be not clear to ask questions. Otherwise, there would be either homework redone here, or there will be a problem sheet given to you, and I will give them with the solution to TAs, and you can exchange as much information you want. But eventually it has to be done within the time and upload, and that would be evaluated.
Sir, what did you say about submitting something on 20th?
What?
Did you say something about submitting on 20th?
No. This is about this tutorial notes which you have written need to be uploaded by 8 o'clock today. Okay, that is a deadline, and beyond that, if you want to submit, you will have to submit it by email. I have already told you, unless there is a very, very compelling reason, I will be simply throwing it out. Not physically, it will remain in my mailbox, but it will not be evaluated. Okay, any other question? We have another few minutes. If you have some question, either formality or about the physics. Yes, no questions?
Sir, which book we should start reading? That Narlikar book only? Means
yes. Narlikar book, I am not sure any book would give you this derivation. So I cannot say this from any book. It might be there. If you find something, let me know. Maybe this all should be Start reading Narlikar. It's there's an introduction which I am not going to do it from that, but you could get the overall broad idea what he's going to say. He is one of the scholar in this field, and he has taught for many years. Excellent teacher, so the introduction and other topics should be reasonably good enough. Or rather,
Sir,
yeah.
Sir, due to some technical issues, my fee payment was not verified yet. They have to manually verify it, so my VLearn isn't updated yet. So I can't see any courses in VLearn, so I'll have to mail you the tutorial.
Okay, so you send it by email, writing this.
Hello?
Did I mute? Okay,
Yeah,
can you
so
hear
I
me?
have mailed you.
So, no, with the tutorial, you write like this, because otherwise, if you mail this,
Sorry, sir?
no, can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Sir,
hello.
you are audible.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, sir?
Kirti, is it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, so if you give me these two information separately, I will not be able to process. When you submit your today's assignment by email, add this line on the top so that I understand why you have not submitted on VLearn. If you separately write these two, I will not be able to correlate.
Yeah, sir. I have already submitted by email. I have mentioned the reason.
So you could scan and send it already?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I get it. So I will do it. Your name is not there in the VLearn, is it?
No.
Okay, that is fine. When it comes, I will manually enter this in your account. So it should be fine. Fix your problem with the academic office, and then it's all right. Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so do explain. These kind of problems do crop up every now and then. So there is no need to get panic about all this. These are the routine things. Don't waste your energy too much in all that. So if it is a genuine reason, I am okay with it. It is not like a military regiment to enforce something. So do not bother too much about all these rules and regulation. This would be implemented to just to make things fair enough. Eventually, you know that I don't have any mechanism to make this fair to hardworking and good students. Some people would sneak up, that can't be stopped. That's why I apologize in the beginning itself. So you have to keep this in mind. The grades have no meaning in this course. Okay, so if there are no questions,
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, why do we go why have you introduced this concept traditionally without using abstract mathematical definitions?
No, abstract mathematical definition, we will do it. But the point is, when you do that, you will miss the physics. There is a Lagrangian mechanics, which you are already familiar with. And now you understand what the all this thing about. Then it even becomes simpler to understand the mathematics. You see that there is no rule, or people have so far not found out any method how to learn GR in a simple way. So one has to often go back front, back forth, back forth, back forth. Sometimes you do maths first, sometimes you do physics first, and then switch, and so on. It is because of the nature of subject itself. Both have a certain amount of difficulties. Eventually, it turns out that after some experience with the Riemann geometry, you would find that the physics is actually more complicated than the mathematics itself.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So we will do formal introduction to tensors and all that thing, but that would now you would have some physical background to what you are doing, because you have been doing tensor analysis without knowing it. That is a interesting aspect of Lagrangian mechanics.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other question?
I also had this question, like, is there any work going on or had been done where like a geometry of space is there without bothering about the physics? Like,
That all GR essentially introduced the tensor analysis, Riemann geometry, and so on. You could look in the Todd's book or even Nadlikar's book, first few chapters, first goes over, after introduction, it goes over all these tensor analysis and so on. We will be doing that formal thing in the main course. This being tutorial, you need something to put your hands on, right? Get your muscles bit exercise and relax. So this kind of intense calculation, when it comes to main class, then I have to see how actually to do it. So some of the things would be moved to tutorial time, so that even if I give problems, I understand that you people are generous enough to help each other. So there is no specific nature at this stage giving the assignment. All you need to do is experience in solving problem. Whether somebody else gives you, helps you to solve problem, or I help you to solve problem, it does not make sense. Because it would be better I help you to solve the problem. Because otherwise you may be blindly copying something which is wrong. So, but do conventional tutorial would come from next week. But in the middle, sometime when the calculations become too intense, I would push it into the tutorials. So that I am ensured that you people are actually writing it on the paper and doing it.
thanks.
Okay, so if any question there further, you could either write to me or ask in the Monday class. We will have a shorter class there. The couple of videos I have already put, so I will put more approximate. I have told you approximately how many going to come. So we could have continue the discussion or question asking clarification in the regular interaction classes. Okay, let me stop the recording here.